Mary.
Hi, Tom. How are you today?
Great. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
On this beautiful day.
It is another beautiful day in Ventura County, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
Hi, I'm Mary Marinville, and I'm here with Tom McGrath. He comes from a long line of Ventura County farmers, and he is a farmer himself for many years. And you are also a partner of Ag Land Services?
Correct.
And you have your own farm?
We do.
Okay, and tell us some of the other things you do in Ventura County.
Well, grew up growing vegetables, strawberries, and citrus with my dad and my brother. Very blessed to have been born into a farming family, and it was a pretty easy decision as far as what I wanted to do with my life. And after getting out of the college and the service in 69, 70, been farming full-time since then. We lost my dad way too early in life. We did strawberries, vegetables. He was one of the first growers in Ventura County in the early 50s to plant strawberries, and lost my dad toward the end of the 80s. And my brother and mother and I continued on. And then in the mid 90s, we decided we wanted to pursue the avocado business. And
that was a dream of your father to grow avocados.
That was. My dad was always a forward thinker. He watched one of the first growers actually that came here in the county to the county in 1949 from Watsonville with the Driscoll family when they planted some of the first strawberries. Happened to be a neighbor on some property adjoining some ground that my dad was leasing, and he got acquainted with this gentleman's name was Cy Kennedy. And after a couple of years of kind of looking over the fence, my dad decided to try some strawberries in the early 50s, and we grew strawberries for almost 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah.
And did you sell them to Driscoll's?
No, we actually, we had a couple of marketers that marketed them for us, and then in the last few years of our operation, we actually marketed them ourselves under our own label.
Okay, great. Yeah. And so you went on to plant and grow avocados. How many acres of avocados did you start with?
Well, it's interesting. When I came on board, when we basically shut down our vegetable and strawberry operation, and my brother ended up taking care of our citrus. There wasn't enough acreage for me to take care of. I spent 1 year traveling up and down California actually buying vegetables for a friend of mine that had a vegetable processing plant. And that was interesting, but I knew that was going to be short-lived. And out of the blue, some friends of mine that started Ag Land Services, one of the gentlemen left, and they asked me in 1995 if I'd like to join as a partner. And I was thrilled to do that, and I've been there ever since. And so I actually stepped into an ongoing farming operation. And then my family and I and a couple of other partners were able to purchase a ranch out near Fillmore, and we now have 200 acres of avocados there.
So you have 200, and I've been to your ranch, and it is lovely, it's gorgeous. Yeah. So you have 200 of your own acres, and then how many acres do you help manage with Ag Land?
We manage, Ag Land manages about 1,000 acres of avocados between Santa Barbara and Ventura County.
Wonderful, wonderful. And why do so many growers that grow avocados, why do they choose Hass avocados to grow?
It's our basic bread and butter variety, and of which over the years there have been many derivations of Hass. Some have done well, some have, and right now one of the first ones that pops into mind is the Lamb Hass, which is basically a cousin to the original Hass avocado. It's a much bigger fruit, it's slower to mature, it comes in later in the season. But there are many derivations that have been bred over the years by the avocado research at the folks at the university, and we actually have a variety that's very popular now that was developed in South Africa. So we have a number of different classes, but our basic is the Hass, and then we will plant greenskins, Bacons, Ettingers, other ones for pollinators that we insert into our orchards with the Hass.
Okay,
for pollination.
So basically it's the Hass, it's the size and the oil content and the taste.
Exactly.
Okay,
yep.
And how long, we're right here, we're standing in front of a Hass tree. How long does it take from blossom to the time when the avocado can be harvested?
We're basically looking at about a year cycle.
A year?
Yeah.
And I've heard also that trees alternate 1 year from the next. And 1 year you might get 10,000 pounds per acre, and the next you might get 20,000 pounds per acre. And is that dependent upon weather, or is that just the cycle of the tree?
It's the cycle of the tree. It really is. And sometimes the poundage can be quite a bit less on the off year and can be quite a bit more. We're trying very hard as an industry and as growers through our cultural practices and our nutritional practices to try to even out the highs and the lows. But we are able to get phenomenal yields on the bigger years, and we're just striving to be able to even that out and have good. And we do get good, decent yields on the off years, but there can be big swings.
Okay. Is there any agricultural practices that are brand new that are helping you to increase your yields?
Well, there's so many advances that have come on, both as far as irrigation management, micro sprinklers, and nutritionally, we're learning more and more all the time. We're very blessed to have some of the best folks in the industry. Dr. Ben Faber is here available to us in Ventura County, although he travels up and down the state from the north down to the south.
He's the expert.
He's the expert. He
Ben
really
Faber.
is. Ben
Okay.
Faber. Yeah,
Okay.
and there is another gentleman whose name slips my mind at the moment that is down in San Diego County, Fallbrook, Temecula, down in that area. And I was just reading an article on both of them, but the second gentleman's name
Do you call him Dr. Avocado?
Well, no, we just call him Ben, but I have to remember because we've been great friends for a long time, but I always have to remember when I'm introducing him to someone new that it is Dr. Faber. And Ben's a joy. He just lives for this and does work in citrus and other fruits too, but his favorite are avocados.
Okay. The 2011 Ventura County Agricultural Report just came out. What crop number is avocados in Ventura County? Is it 5 or 6?
Boy, Mary, I think it's 5.
5.
I believe it's 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's 5 because we have 2 of the biggest avocado growers in the state, I believe. Mission Produce and Calavo are both here, dueling it out to try to provide as many avocados to the market as possible, and they're doing a very good job, both of them. And just some other questions that I have for you about the tree and about the growth itself. Tom, you mentioned earlier that it takes about 1 year from blossom to the time that the avocados are ready to be harvested.
Correct.
And do you see this one up here? How old is that avocado approximately?
Well, let's see now. We're looking at August right now. Probably 4 to 5 months. That's a piece of fruit, depending on the weather, and its oil content that might be able to be picked in January of 2013.
January of 2013.
Yep.
And is that usually when they're
It is. We start looking for larger fruit, and we do the oil testing, which is critical. They want 22% oil, and we want to be sure we have that so that the consumer gets a good oily piece of fruit. And what we do, depending on the year and depending on how the market is, but mainly to take the heavier fruit off the trees, so that lets it takes a little bit of a burden off the tree, and then the smaller fruit can start to mature.
Okay. And so you take a few off and then you test them before you start harvesting the whole orchard.
Right. And then we basically start what we call a size pick. And we'll pick a certain ounces, maybe 8 or 9 ounces, and we'll instruct our harvesting crews that we want no smaller than an 8 or a 9 ounce piece of fruit, and leave everything else on the tree.
Okay.
Yep.
So do they, like they do with lemon harvesting, do they use a sizing ring?
They don't actually use a ring. Most of these pickers are so experienced that they can basically look at a piece of fruit and know what it is.
And then they put it in their harvesting bag, and then they put it in the larger crates, and then it goes off to the packing house. And we were saying also that we have 2 of the biggest marketers,
Correct.
If not the biggest, in California. Calavo and Mission Produce are here.
Correct.
And I know that they have techniques now, state-of-the-art techniques, to help the fruit ripen before it gets to the supermarket. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, I can. It's the 2, both Calavo and Mission, have pioneered this ripening process, and I don't know the technicalities of it, but they've spent a lot of time and energy and money in developing this thing where they do a storage thing, and I believe it's based on temperature and humidity.
Okay.
And they have ripening centers now, both of them around the country, where they'll send the green fruit and take it to the ripening centers so that they can take it right from their ripening centers in different parts of the country and get it right to the major markets.
I'm always wondering about that because sometimes I'll go into the market and it's perfect and it's ready to go, and sometimes it's a little hard and I don't mind. So then I bring it home and set it on my kitchen table in a nice bowl, and then it ripens when it's ready. And so I have a ripe avocado here. And avocados, I have to tell you, you'll be glad to hear this, is my favorite fruit. And I was very happy to hear that not only is it my favorite fruit, but it's very, very nutritious. It has a lot of potassium. It has a lot of fiber, correct? And it's monounsaturated fat, so it's very good for your heart. Can you tell us anything more?
You've pretty much covered it. A number of years ago, the marketing folks were having a fit because someone had come out and said, well, it's got too much of the wrong kind of the fat or something like that. But they do say now...
Do you want to try this one?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. But they do say, there's no doubt about it, it's just about one of the healthiest pieces of fruit that you possibly can eat. And my wife's grand niece, who is about 2 years old now, we have some wonderful pictures of her with a lot of avocados, some going into her mouth and some going all over her face. She absolutely loves avocados.
Well, they are just so delicious. I just put a little lemon juice or lime juice and a little salt, and it's ready to go. But I also use it for guacamole, of course, salad, on sandwiches. I will use it all day long if I could. But these are super nutritious. If you're not a fan of avocados, you should be. And thank you so much, Tom, for being my August Farmer of the Month in Ventura County.
Pleasure, Mary.
I do appreciate it. And you're one of my favorite farmers, too.
Thank you, Mary, for all your great work.
Thank you. And thank you, KDTV, for making this all possible.